Hi, I'm Blue Kiss Gardens. This is Growing Femmes. This is a podcast that has been in the works for over a year. I know, I'm a procrastinator, and I was also a little ambivalent because I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to say. But the first thing I am going to say today is Happy Bicycle Day. And for those of you who don't know, Bicycle Day is a celebration of the day that Albert Hoffman, a Swiss physicist, I must call him a pharmacist, Jesus. Anyway, physicist, discovered LSD by accidentally getting a little on his skin, absorbing it, getting on his bicycle and going home, and he started tripping while he was riding his bicycle. That's when he realized he might have found something really special there. And I have to say, I agree. He did find something really special there. He was actually looking for a stimulant. He had discovered it in 1936, came up with it in 36 and put it on a shelf because it didn't do what he thought it should do. I think they were actually using it in pregnant women. But he didn't get rid of it. He kept the formula. And he just, in the back of his mind, kept thinking, there's something about that it could have another application. And boy, does it. So he took it off the shelf in 1943, got some on his skin, and the rest is history. There's other hallucinogens besides LSD. And I would like us to also explore those at another time. But tonight, it's about Bicycle Day, where we celebrate Albert Hoffman and his LSD discovery. And in honor of that, and in honor of my very first episode of this podcast, I'm going to celebrate Bicycle Day the only way that I know how. So, I give myself about 50 minutes to do this podcast. I think that's about right. My own personal journey with LSD, excuse me, it's kind of stuck in my throat. My own personal experience with LSD started in 1977. I know I'm giving you a pretty good idea how old I am. I'm just going to tell you because most of you know I will be 65 in 3 weeks, a little less. Don't care. It's just a number. Just has a lot of experience behind it. And I don't call it getting older. I call it leveling up. And I can't wait to see what superpowers I get this year. I believe it's going to be government insurance. I don't know. I hope it's something better than that, though. Although that's a pretty good thing to have if you end up getting sick. A lot of people might be wondering why I decided to have this podcast. There's a couple of reasons. The first being is I discovered this community when Michigan became legal to grow. I never grew before then. I had smoked since I was 15 years old, on and off at the beginning, of course. You didn't go hard at the beginning, but by the time I hit college, I knew that cannabis and I were destined to be really good friends. When I was in college, in fact, they kind of laughed at me when I said my dream was to see someday cannabis would in fact be legal. And look at us today. But that is how I discovered this community of YouTubers. And that was one of the reasons that I wanted to make this podcast. These people have become my friends and my family. And in the past year, I would have to say it has been the past year. We've gone through a lot of changes in the YouTube community and in the cannabis community, fracturing of different programs, different people leaving, And new ones not necessarily replacing them. And we desperately need to grow our community. I know I went off on my subject about LSD, but my first experience with LSD, because I was also a cannabis smoker, was in 1977 in college. I went to Michigan State University, go Spartans. And as a Spartan, there were 50,000 people my own age, and there was a lot to learn and a lot to see. And my friend Jan actually had some microdot. The first time I ever took any acid was microdot. And there's nothing alleged about it. It was so long ago, I'm sure that it doesn't matter anymore. But it was a very good introduction to the psychedelic world. Now, back in the 70s, it was a whole different world with, we'll just call them illegal drugs, because that's how they all looked at them. But I look at these things as pharmacologicals now. I'm sorry. Get my history out. I have done, because of 1977, it was a different kind of drugs out there, I guess you'd say. No such thing as Molly, friends. But we did have mescaline, and we did have mushrooms. And I'll tell you what, there was more fresh ones than freeze-dried at the time. Terrible, terrible. Neither here nor there. Those fresh mushrooms came off of the feces of the cows. Cow manure. Gross. You could tell. Anyway. And then, of course, the microdot and the blotter acid, a bathtub blotter, a window pane. Lots of different ways to take psychedelics back in the day. And I did. Through college, through my early adulthood. Then I eventually got married and settled down and stopped doing them altogether. And we can flash forward to right after COVID. We had our first Michigan Bros Grow Show meetup that I was a part of. Shout out to that group. If you have not seen the show, please tune in. Great bunch of people, lots of information. But I went out there camping. It's so fun. Camping with people that I've been hanging out with on the Discord, on the YouTube. Nothing better. So, of course, my friend came with me from Oregon, who will remain unnamed. And she brought me some mushrooms, some penis envy mushrooms. Now, I have not done any psychedelics of any kind in this millennium. So my first experience was about 1.5 grams of penis envy, and my bones melted, or they felt like they did. I couldn't hold my head up. I couldn't hold my body up. I was in a zero gravity chair for a while, and that was great. But yeah, I had to go lay down. But then it wore off, and it was the weirdest thing for me. It just disappeared after a few hours. Great time, but it started me on the road back to experimenting with the psychedelics. Because for me, the psychedelics are the trip inside. This whole thing is about the last part of my life trip. To tell you the absolute truth, I want to see the people that I've been talking to for the last 4 years. I want to see places. I want to go to concerts. I want to live life while I've still got life to live. And I do have a lot of life to live, even at my old age of almost 65. I am going to format this show a little different than what I'm doing today. This was to get it off the ground. I got to be honest. It should have been more polished. It should have been more professional by this point, but you're dealing with kind of a slothy old boomer, and this is how it's going to be for now. I do have help from my community, and they will help me whip this thing into something watchable. I will be going places and call that particular segment the places we go. And we will be going to things like the Booth Crew Meetup, both North, and the Booth Crew Meetup South, which is a group of people that formed around the Caribou Heart Show. Also on YouTube, look them up. Good bunch of people. And we found a wonderful place for the South to meet up 2 years ago. This will be our third year this year. And we went camping and had camaraderie and so much fun. And this time I'm bringing you guys along with me to see exactly what this community is like. We are a good bunch of people and we support each other. And most of all, for me, it's about making sure that we all have the medicine that we need, because most of us are using cannabis as medicine anymore. Yeah, I get high just for the recreation of it, but you know what? I also use it for the medical of it. And right now, Michigan we're not fighting so much now, but it's an ongoing struggle. We keep losing caregivers, we keep losing patients, and we have a very vigorous, how do I want to put this? We could have a wonderful program, but we have to get it going. And that's going to be part of my goal here, is to bring on some of the other people that are trying to get our medical up and running. Shout out to Weed Stirs. I have done canvassing on our Capitol, on our Congress people with Spartan Grown and a few other people. He was one who canvassed with me side by side. And it's a worthy cause and it's a wonderful thing. And part of my end plan, I know this sounds really morbid, part of the end of this life is going to be giving back. And that is also a big part of why I'm doing this, is because I want to give back. I want to grow the community and I want to make our medical strong again. And it was strong before and it can be there again, but we got to do it. And there's a lot of people out there who have lost the medical of their state that they're in, saying you can't do it. This is the same pattern that ours took, and people don't care. I say, no, people do care. I almost said the F-bomb there. A short aside, I have a little problem with that word. I say it a lot. I'm trying not to today. Whoop, whoop. Also, just so anybody curious, I'm smoking Strawberry Blonde from 2020, and it's excellent. I'm an outdoor grower, for those of you who don't know me. I have my grow, and I also grow for medical, and I only do outdoor organic. I don't do indoor growing, so I have a little bit of a different take on it than a lot of my fellow growers do, because many of those are indoor growers. And that's okay. That's something that we're going to also explore, all the different ways that people grow. And that's the other part of what this is going to be about, is one-to-one talking. I'm not going to call them interviews because it's not an interview. It's going to be a conversation. One-to-one conversations with all of the people that I've met through the last 4 years. And we're not going to necessarily just talk about cannabis. I mean, we've talked about cannabis and how to grow it ad nauseum. And I'm not saying I don't want to talk about that, because I am very interested in different things concerning the growing of cannabis. But I'm also interested in the people that are behind growing the cannabis. And that's what I really want to know about. And not just about the cannabis part, but about what makes them fire up in their life. Because we have a vast community and it's a wide range of people, and they don't all agree with me and I don't all agree with them. But if I listen, I learn. And I've gone through, just not to be jumping all over. At one point, a few years ago, I fell and broke my femur. And I was already in the community and had already been growing. And I fell in the wintertime. I fell off my feet, actually. I know it's the hardest bone in the body. And I broke my femur. I hit the sweet spot. Oh, right there. Anyway, fast forward a few months later, and it was time for me to get my summer grow going, and I was not in the physical condition to do it. I was still really weak. I was walking, but not well. And I had people from in the community come out when it was time for me to. I did my seedlings just fine, but when it started going to the big stuff and having to up pot, I had people come out and do it and help me. I won't say help me, they did it for me. And if I hadn't had those people come out on their own volition, I didn't ask them, they came out on their own volition, up potted my plants for me, I would never have had that grow, or I may have had that grow, but it would have been one of the saddest things I ever done, and it would have been demoralizing. And I can't thank those people enough. And I've already mentioned one of them, and that's Spartan Grown. And the other one was Anything Grows. And I gotta say, without them, I would not have gotten that particular grow out because I was physically unable to. And that's another part of this is we have a community of people who have physical disabilities, who can't physically grow their own cannabis, or who need help growing their own cannabis. And we need to network people together to help them as well. I think we can do it. I'm sure we can do it. Oh, look at that. It's only 7:30 and I'm not even off yet. And I can't even keep a sentence straight. But I will try. I think what I really need to do right now, because I am a little bit nervous and a little bit talky, is to take a small dab. I know, crazy, huh? I've been a flower girl. Below these 50 years of smoking, mostly all flower. I do like hash, under glass especially. Oh, I've already got one ready in there. But I went to an event with the Michigan Bros Grow Show group. And at that event was a man who calls himself Fragoli, who makes a very fine concentrate. And at his booth, he was giving free dabs. And so I said to myself, I've been curious about it. It looks violent to me. I'll say that. It looked really violent to me. And I decided that it really wasn't for me because it reminded me of other substances. Took a torch. Use your imagination. But Mrs. Fragoli was there with the dab rig, giving free dabs, and I walked up and I asked her to please told her the situation and go gentle on me. And she gave me a little dab of clementine, and it was wonderful. And ever since then, I did quickly go to concentrates, but slowly. And I didn't start out with the big torch and the rigs and the pearls and none of that. No, I was gifted. She says I won it. I was gifted a rig by Miss Terra Nation. It was a Cheech and Chong rig. It was so cute. I still have it. I just don't have it out here. It's about this tall. And she taught me how to cold start. And so I started doing cold start. And cold start is when you put your concentrate already in the machine and then heat up just like it was empty. But when the thing starts to bubble, you're pretty much at temperature. You turn off your torch and you can do your dab, and it's not really violent. You can still burn yourself, of course, but not bad for me. And so if that's been what's keeping you away, that's one way to do a dab. Another way to do a dab is with one of these electronic machines. Mine is a Dr. Dabber. 5 clicks turns it on. One more click, holding it in, and it starts heating it up. And there's no fire involved. Get high, as you're going to soon see. Flashes red as it heats up, and then does this little jiggle and turns green when it's ready to go. Oh, I've got to have one of these on top. Little cap. Don't want to lose all the good stuff. Cheers. Excellent. Goes to disco lights when it's all done. Oh, that's very calming. All I have to do is find a Q-tip to clean things up. Oh my. Well, shoot. I have a very messy desk. You have an unorganized blue kiss. You really do. I will look. Oh, here's one that hasn't been used. Perfect. It's so easy. You just swirl, swirl, swirl. Cleans it up. That's my chow rug. That's behind me. Her name is Luna. I have a second chow. He's not a rug, so that's why you don't see him. He's out and about. Now, where was I? Oh, talking about how the format of the show is going to go. So it's the places we go, the people we meet. Back a few years ago, I sometimes on Friday nights, and probably will as well on this Friday night, being it's a holiday for me, go on the Caribou Heart shit show. And while I'm on that shit show, they ask what my plans are, what I have going, and given the fact that I'm traveling and having fun and running around, that's what I talk about, and being excited about meeting the people I'm meeting. And it's a fun time. However, Caribou Heart is based in Canada. And as Canadians go, they're really far up there, and getting down and having fun with us is not very easy. Some of them can't come because they were maybe a little naughty at another point in their life and just can't come over here. Same with some of us Americans going up there. Keep our felons home, they say. Pish posh. So, as I'm telling my story, one of my new friends from back then, he was fairly new friend, looked at me. He said, "You go ahead, talk all you want. That's fine." He had a little bit of FOMO. And he looked at me and he said, "You're just an internet imaginary." "No, internet imaginary," I said. "Indeed I am. But now, G-Bay, I'm going to come and meet you too this summer at the Caribou Booth Crew Meetup North, which is going to be happening up in the Georgian Bay area where G-Bay happens to be from. And once I meet you, we are not internet imaginaries anymore. We are friends. We're still friends as internet imaginaries. Don't get me wrong. But I need to hug you, babe. I need to hug all of you. So my goal, good, bad, or ugly, is going to be to try to meet and talk to as many of you as I can. And at the same time, rally us all to try to grow the community. We have a lot of people around us that are also partakers of the herb that have no clue about this place. YouTube is just non-existent to them. It's a really good reference point to jump off of. It's a good place to come if you need resources. For the longest time, I didn't know some of these people around me even existed, but because of this place, I kind of reversed engineered it. So now I have a very wide community even around me. And we need to bring even more of those people into our YouTube community and go a little more global than we are right now. So if you're up to it and you want to hear more about my quirkishness and meet some of the good people that I've met, just come along on whatever night I'm out here. Subscribe and follow. Hit the notifications, and then you'll know when I'm out and about. I hope I haven't rambled on too long. Shorter than I said I was going to, but I can feel it starting to kick in, so I better get out of here. So I will see some of you later, and I hope I see all of you later on in this show, because sometimes it will be live. Thanks and goodbye.